This bill, having passed the House, will now go to the Senate and be considered by the Senate. And senators may take up this bill, or senators may write their own bill, like you've seen Loomis and Gillibrand do. And those ideas can come to a merger in the Senate.
This content is brought to you by BitGo, which is one of the top crypto custodians in the crypto industry. BitGo works with many big companies and brands, such as Pantera Capital, Bitstamp, and Bitcoin IRA. Nike also selected BitGo to power its wallets for its NFTs. And BitGo has many great services, such as hot wallets, custodial wallets, self-managed cold wallets, and NFT wallets. Many institutions trust BitGo with its top-level security and incredible services, such as being able to deploy your capital while it's in custody, which includes lending, borrowing, trading, staking, DeFi access, and more. If you'd like to learn more about BitGo, please visit bitgo.com, link in the description. Welcome to the Thinking Crypto podcast. I'm your host, Tony Edward. With me today is Congressman French Hill, a Republican out of Arkansas. Congressman Hill is also the chairman of the House Financial Services Committee on Digital Assets, Financial Technology, and Inclusion. Congressman Hill, great to see you on this Thursday morning.
Tony, it's great to be with you, and it's a big day in the digital assets world today.
Absolutely. And I have some words to pass on to you because there's many people tweeting at me and leaving comments. Tell Congressman Hill thank you and his colleagues thank you. It was a big day yesterday. Congressman, let's start off with the FIT21 bill. Tell us about this bill, why it's important, and the victory that took place yesterday.
Look, for the last 10 years, people have tried to innovate by writing applications on blockchains. They've tried to create a tokenized economy and raise funds in and around a project that includes tokens embedded in the business mission. They've tried to create exchanges for digital assets. We've even had one digital asset exchange trading company, Coinbase, go public and file an S1 and be a public company. We've had fraud in the markets, both outside the United States that have hurt U.S. investors and inside the United States. We've had the SEC in court trying to figure out what's a commodity and what's a security and confusing the market even more. So FIT21, which we passed yesterday by an overwhelming 279 votes, and we would have had more, but 10 people or so were not voting yesterday. They were out of the city, including 71 Democrats. So it was a solid bipartisan victory. FIT21 clears up a lot of that confusion from the past decade. What's a commodity? What's a security? We actually write a legislative definition of the famous Howey test. We talk about how to register as an exchange, a broker, a dealer, how to treat insiders in token projects that are not yet on a functioning blockchain and fully decentralized. We talk about custody, so that if somebody wants to own a digital asset in their IRA account or in a trust account, they can. So in my view, we answered the president's question from 2022, which was, we have regulatory gaps. We need Congress to fill those gaps. That was the mission of FIT21.
Yeah, this is really great. And you mentioned the 71 Democrats. We saw a trend building here where Democrats worked with you and your colleagues to repeal SOB 121 in the House. Then it went to the Senate. And now, of course, the vote in the House yesterday. What are your thoughts on this? Because, you know, there's some who try to make this technology and asset class political, but it's not. It's a bipartisan topic, and it shouldn't be political. But what are your thoughts on these Democrats citing and getting this through?
Look, this is really terrific, I think, for the American economy, for technology and technological innovation. We saw this bipartisanship back in the 1990s when Web 1, the basic internet, was unveiling to the American people through AOL dial-up about what the future might hold for commerce, for peer-to-peer transactions, for communication, for innovation. We saw that bipartisan support. So we saw it again yesterday on the House floor. And in FIT21, is a resolution that Dusty Johnson and I wrote. Wiley Nickel, Democrat, offered as an amendment to our bill that has that same do no harm, let's advance technology on a bipartisan basis resolution is actually in FIT21 that we based on the 1990s approach.
Mm.
So I think it showed that this is not partisan, that people are for technology and for America leading in technology, and we don't want barriers to that. And we want rules of the road so that people know how to write applications, do coding, talk to investors, and do that all legally, safely, and prudently.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, there's a big question as to what happens next. I see that question's popping up a lot this morning. When will this bill go to the Senate? And when it does go to the Senate, does it have to be merged with Senator Lummis and Gillibrand's version, or applied to or tagged on to a larger bill that makes it through the Senate?
Tony, such a great question. And isn't it cool when we find something we're passionate about in our personal lives and we get to teach civics at the same time? No, it's really good. That's what makes it fun. So yes, there are some people in the Senate who have done a lot of work behind the scenes to promote blockchain and think through these same issues. Senators Loomis of Wyoming, Gillibrand of New York are two of those people. And then over in the Ag Committee, Stabenow of Michigan and John Bozeman of my home state of Arkansas also have been involved in this. And then we have other members who are interested as well. This bill, having passed the House, will now go to the Senate and be considered by the Senate. And senators may take up this bill, or senators may write their own bill, like you've seen Loomis and Gillibrand do. And those ideas can come to a merger in the Senate. And don't forget, parallel with this work is our stablecoin bill, where we want to have a federal definition of a payment stablecoin, how they're audited, how they're invested, how they're disclosed to the public, so people have confidence in a dollar-based payment stablecoin. And that legislation we have ready to go here in the House as well. And the Senate is even, I think, further along on that topic. So we may see a merger of these ideas over the next few months before the end of the Congress. And that's my goal, is to make law here, both on the market structure ideas around FIT21 and on the federal rules for a dollar-backed payment stablecoin issued by the private sector, not the government.
Now, regarding the stablecoin legislation, when do you think that may be brought up for vote in the House?
Well, I'm not sure, because we've looked for other legislative vehicles for it. I think the Democratic leader on our committee, Maxine Waters, our chairman, Patrick McHenry, we're pretty close to an agreement on it. So, Tony, it could be attached to another bill moving in Congress, depending on whether or not it could be deemed germane. But I know in the House and the Senate, both in leadership, they're supportive of a dollar-based payment stablecoin bill moving. So stay tuned. I think just know that we're working on it, and we're working on it in parallel with the market structure FIT21 approach.
Awesome. That's great to hear. Now, I saw this morning you and your colleagues sent a letter to SEC Chair Gary Gensler regarding the Ethereum spot ETFs. That decision of approval or denial is due today. What are your thoughts on that? And do you see the SEC acting potentially arbitrary and capricious here, like they did with the Bitcoin ETF?
I would hope that the lessons learned in the long road to a Bitcoin ETP product would carry over straight to this second possibility. A group of us met with Chairman Gensler about 3 weeks ago on this, and he described that they, of course, were doing the same process, and he confirmed that through the Clayton Commission, Jay Clayton, who chaired the SEC for President Trump, and through his work, that they were following the precedents on looking at ETP approvals. They looked at the cash market, the futures market in tandem. But you do have to recognize the court nudged them to yes. I don't think Chairman Gensler would have voted in favor without the court's action. So what we said to him is, look, you've gone through the process, you've verified the analysis, it's worked. We've seen Americans adopt and acquire interest in these ETP products by some of the most prestigious companies in the country. So we don't see why Ethereum would be any different. So in our meeting, of course, he didn't commit. He did recognize the commission has this due date. And that's why we sent the letter, just to simply encourage him to take a fair and equitable approach on this request from the companies, just as they ultimately did in the Bitcoin decision. So we'll have to wait and see. I hope the answer is yes, and that we don't have to go through more analysis here, but we'll know, I hope, soon.
Yeah, absolutely. And look, it's a global competition. I mean, yesterday, London gave approval for their ETFs. Hong Kong in the past month did. So I would hope the United States can get this sooner before these other larger markets as well. I did want to ask you about crypto's impact on politics. Congressman, there's things that are happening that are blowing my mind. Donald Trump, presidential candidate and former president, recently came out and said, I'm the pro-crypto candidate, and I'll work on getting clarity on this and so on and so forth. Yeah. And then on Super Tuesday, we saw months ago that pro-crypto candidates were starting to gain victories. Mm-hmm. Do you think crypto is a ballot item coming up this November?
I don't, in my view, I don't think it's a single issue topic that's going to tip an election one way or the other. I think politics is a lot more complicated than that. It's driven by local factors, and the top of the ticket's important, though, i.e. The top of the ticket this year is Trump v. Biden, and so that's a major issue. But here's what I would say is, in my view, Americans are centrist people. Americans are pro-USA, they're pro-competition, they're pro-technological advance. They have benefited more than any society on the planet over the past 30 years through the innovation that's been facilitated by an open internet. Now there's a chance in Web3 to lower cost, have better service, less fraud, more accuracy, more independent ownership of your data, and instead of ceding all your data to big tech, you get to keep your data, and over time will be paid for that data. And all that's going to be made possible by the future I see in Web3 of writing applications on a blockchain. And so I believe that if you're a pro-technology, pro-innovation, pro-American competition candidate, you have an edge. And that's what I see President Trump saying, is that he's for innovation. He's for technological advance. He's for America being the world leader in this technology, just as we have for decades in biotech and in silicon development and in internet applications and smartphone development. Doesn't make us a monopoly. It just means that the freedom here, the freedom of flow of capital here, allows people to succeed in America. And so I want to see that happen. And I think candidates that support that deserve the vote of the American people.
And Congressman, I've been talking about this lately. This is my final question here, but it seems like we're at the cusp of the next industrial revolution, kind of like what happened in the late 1800s and 1900s, combustion engine, electricity, light bulb, and so forth. We got AI, robotics, blockchain, crypto, and so forth. And I'm hoping we can get this right so these things can kick off and we can get the economic benefits.
We're going to get the economic benefits. I see it every day. And I'd say what's great, Tony, about programs like yours is helping connect the ecosystem with policymakers and telling the use cases and sharing ideas about how people are using these new technologies to better serve customers, give them a better product, a better service at a lower cost that has more accuracy, less chance of fraud, and I think importantly, protects privacy.
Yeah.
Protects their own data, lets people get paid for their own data. And look at how that part of our society is moving, whether you're talking about an NCAA athlete or you're talking about a big Wall Street company that wants to lower the costs of trading securities. All that's going to be made possible by this technology. And AI will be a partner to the human.
Hmm.
It's not the boss of the human. Algorithmic machine learning is important to advance decision making and ideas faster under human direction, not take over the great intuition, emotional content, moral direction of that human decision making. So it's an exciting, and I think we are on the cusp of an amazing age when you combine all of technology's advances.
Absolutely. Congressman, thank you so much. I appreciate all the hard work you've been doing. And like I said, a lot of folks are wanting me to extend a thank you to you and your colleagues. But thank you so much for joining me.
Great to be with you, Tony.